Hello everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio. Today I'm sharing with you my second day, November 2nd, of the hashtag Art Journal Habit 2019 month-long art journaling everyday event. This is brought to you by Art Joy of Sharing Art Community on Facebook. There is a prompt list that you saw at the beginning, and each day I will be making a page in a video using that one word prompt as an inspiration. So when I saw today's prompt, I it's adventure, and I was thinking about all the different adventures I've had over the years. My favorite type of adventure is to go out into nature and see something. And I was thinking of this specific time that I was with my best friend, and my boys were little, and we were at the Oregon coast at Haystack Rock on the Oregon coast. The Oregon coast is beautiful. If you've never been there, you should go. There's all these type of black basalt formations all up and down the coast that are just gorgeous. And I've been going to Haystack Rock at Cannon Beach, the city of Cannon Beach, for years. I grew up in the state of Oregon, and I used to drive there. It's about a 6-hour drive from where I grew up. And it's just beautiful there. It's gorgeous. It's like one of my happy places that I would actually like to go to right now. It would be really great if I could just go there right now. Um, just been there for years. But this one specific time that I was thinking of is when there was an extreme low tide. Uh, Usually there are tide pools around Haystack Rock that you can see, but you can't walk all the way to the rock because there's an ocean in between, um, which is a good thing because it's a bird sanctuary. You don't want people climbing all over the rock. But this one particular time, the tide was so low that you could actually walk out to the rock if you wanted to, and it opened up a lot more tide pools. And then the other two rocks that are next to it, you could almost walk to them. It's not something that happens very often. And it was cold, but we got real excited and we went running down there to see this very low tide because it was just such an interesting and unusual thing to see. When we went there for our vacation, we weren't expecting that. It just happened. We were staying in a townhouse with the boys, and so I was thinking about that particular adventure when we all went out running down there to see the extreme low tide. And I didn't stay out very long. I wasn't very adventurous because I got cold, and I went back to the little townhouse we were staying at. But my best friend and my boys stayed out there for quite a while on the cold, cold beach. And so what I did was I looked up a picture of Haystack Rock at low tide on my iPad, and that was my inspiration piece. And then I'm using some different papers, and the ones that I'm using right now are overspray papers. It's deli paper where I was spraying something on my desk with ink sprays, and that's like the excess. And so as you can see, when you use something like this, which is a water soluble product, as I'm collaging it on with my Liquitex matte gel medium, it's smearing and moving around. But once that matte gel medium is dry over the top of it, it won't move anymore. So I'm kind of sticking it down and sealing it at the same time. But it is making a mess. It's smearing. But I'm not too worried about it because I'm planning on collaging the entire background. So I will cover up the smeary areas with some more deli paper that has little bits of blues and aqua colors for the sky, mostly white. Um, this one has acrylic paint on it, so I know it's not going to smear. Some of the other ones that I ended up bringing in also had some overspray of ink. I just have, different piles of different types of paper around. These were still in full sheets and I had to tear them up. But I have that kind of brownish color at the bottom, and then some kind of aqua color. And they did have mica on them. The two at the bottom anyway had mica on them. But when I put the matte medium over there, of course, it takes away that shimmer. That's part of what happens with matte medium. That's why it's called matte. If you really wanted to retain that shimmery look on the paper, you would need to use a gloss medium. And I just really never use gloss medium very often. Um, The reason being that when it's dry, I still feel it sticky. And so then I have to treat the art journal page with something else to combat the stickiness so it doesn't stick to the next page. Some acrylic paints are that way too. And if you guys are curious about how I do seal those, I use beeswax furniture polish. It happens to be from a company called Daddy Vans. And I learned about this from Gina B. Aarons and Cindy Utter and that crew. Works really great. He just takes a little bit of it. I've had this same can for a long time. It doesn't have really much of a scent. It has a pleasant smell, but it's not real stinky. And I can just rub a little bit of that wax over the top of my finished page, and then those pages don't stick together in your journal. So if you're having trouble with your journal sticking together, the pages sticking together, I recommend that beeswax product. There's probably other brands. It just happens that I have the Daddy Vans one because that's what I saw in a video. It was recommended. So I tried it. I will try to remember to put a link to it on Amazon below in my links down below if you want to find it. But yeah, it works out really well. So after I've got my whole kind of sand, sea, sky situation going on, now I need to put in my rock formations. Excuse me. So haystack rock, the reason that I needed to look up a reference photo is I know what it looks like in my head, but it's better to look at the actual picture. And even as I was tearing it, I didn't make the right shape. It it looks like an old-fashioned haystack. Nowadays, they wrap the hay in bales, big giant circular bales, or things like that with machines. But back in the day, there was just a stack, and it would have this pitched shape at the top. But haystack rock is really quite straight on both sides, so I needed to add in another piece over there to make that one side straight. And then I didn't make the outer edge quite as far on the other side as on the right as I needed. So I did fix that eventually. And I'm just using some still deli paper. This has some different paint scraped on it from like when I have excess paint, I just scrape it on my under paper, deli paper, and throw it to the side. And then I sometimes use those pieces in my collage. Then I also had a piece of black text weight paper that had a little bit of acrylic paint on it as well, and also some kind of brownish color. And I'm just continuing to build my shapes using these little scraps of paper. The black one was probably from gel printing and picking up a little bit of paint. I'm not sure how I got that one actually, but it has some interesting, very grungy looking crusty bits on it, which is obviously why I saved it. So I still didn't stretch out that one side far enough, and I'm going to do that in a minute. But I'm just, adding different pieces of paper, making it look textured, making it look like it has shadows and highlights, and giving this very abstract scene of the haystack rock and the two additional rocks that are to the side of it. It doesn't look exactly like the picture, and that's fine. I think that if anyone saw this, they were familiar with Cannon Beach and Haystack Rock, they would probably say, "Hey, that's Haystack Rock." So it's close enough, right? So I'm filling in a few more pieces into the sky, and one thing about art journaling, it's so therapeutic to think about things as you are doing your page. Like I'm thinking about that adventure I had and the low tide, and I haven't thought about that for years. Thinking about what my kids were like back then before they grew up into the people that they are, thinking about my friendship with my best friend, who's been my best friend since forever. She still lives in the town that I grew up in Oregon, and I like to meet up with her and go to the coast sometimes, and we need to do that soon. If you're watching this, we need to do that soon. We always say that, but then it's hard to get, time set aside from life and responsibilities to just take off to the beach. And if we go, we should at least go for a week. So then I have this stencil. I wanted to bring in the figures, some figures to, you know, make it more like the memory of running down the beach to see the low tide. So this stencil is from Stencil Girl, and it's, I believe, designed by Carolyn Doobie. I haven't used it yet. As you can see, it has no paint on it. I did have to take the mat there. This one has masks and stencils, and I had to cut the little tabs all around those ladies who are running together with their hands held. I only need two of them. I don't have that big of a tribe, but uh, I got that mask portion out. It'll be fun to use too. And then I taped off the area to make sure that I only have two of the people and I'm not going to stencil over into the third person. And then I found a place for them in the foreground on the page. And I got some DecoArt Media Fluid Paint in Payne's Gray, which is a very, very dark bluish gray. It's not black, but it's almost black. It's very dark. And I just used a cosmetic sponge, making sure that I'm going up and down, up and down, up and down over the stencil with a fairly dry sponge. You don't want to have too much paint on your sponge when you're stenciling. You want to kind of pat it into the paint, then pat it off, and then make sure that you're not scraping across, but going up and down. And you'll get a clear image, and I liked that silhouette image. Then I decided to also use some of the words that say true friends. If you've been friends with someone since you were a child and you're still friends and still in contact, that's probably a true friend. So I put those words on too with the same color, the Payne's Gray, dark, dark bluish grayish color. It's not quite straight. Is it ever? Do I ever do anything perfectly straight? And then I'm done with the stenciling. So then the next thing to do is to fill out the rest of the words I want to write in there, which is life is a great adventure when life is a great adventure with true friends. So I started to write with a pencil first. I decided that I had gone too far and I needed to erase some and put the adventure with underneath the life is great so that it's all kind of one word block. And then I'm going to go over those pencil lines with a black Posca pen. I realized when I looked at the close-ups that I didn't go back and erase the pencil, so I do need to do that. It's hard to see it when I'm just looking at it, but boy, in the close-up I could see the pencil underneath, so I need to go back and erase. So when you see the close-ups at the end, you'll see that you can still see my pencil lines. But I wrote over it first, and then I go back through and make each downstroke a little bit fatter, and that makes it look a little bit more fancy. Then I went around the stenciled words and drew a line around the outside, and you can kind of see the difference between black and Payne's Gray. And then I just felt like I needed to lighten a few things up, like the kind of the foam and spray that's at the edges of the ocean needs to be lightened up a little bit because when I was putting that paper on, I was picking up some of the color from that spray that was smearing, and so I wanted to lighten it up. So I'm just using some white gesso here and there just to lighten things up and make things more balanced. I felt that that one side had some pretty dark color for no reason. So yeah, just a little bit of touch up with some white. And then the last thing that I do, I believe, is to bring in some Neocolor 2 water-soluble crayons. I also felt that the brown at the bottom, that's the sand, in some places was too dark. It seemed like dirt rather than sand. So I get a tan colored Neocolor 2 crayon and scribble over the top of it to get a little bit of lighter color on there. I think it looks better that way. And then I end up first blending it with my finger with some white gesso on it, and then it became too light. So then I came back in with a baby wipe and wiped some of that back again to the dark. Because now it's too light. It's like, oh, it's too dark, it's too light, it's too dark. Make up your mind. You know how it is. So this is just a baby wipe, and I'm kind of wiping back some of that crayon and making it more, it's lighter than it was, but not as light as I made it. And then I think I also use a little bit of aqua color, bluish crayon to brighten up the C section of it. C section, no. The C as in SEA. C area, okay. Totally unintentional. And I might have even put some in the sky. I can't remember. But anyway, yeah, just a little bit of touch up with Neocolor too. You know, you can always edit what you're doing with paints or the crayons, whatever you want. You know, just for fun. Oh, there's some little bit of darker areas for the haystack rock. Then, of course, the last thing is always the Posca pen. White Posca pen highlights and a little bit of detailing with the white Posca pen in the silhouettes. So, yeah, that and a little bit of inky edge, I think, finishes this page. So this month, the month of November, today should be November 2nd. Every day in November, there should be a video of an art journal page in this little art journal that I've made. And this is day 2. If you'd like to see everyone's contributions to Art Journal Habit 2019, you can use that hashtag anywhere in social media, and it'll come up on Instagram and Facebook. And also, you can come and join the Art Joy of Sharing Art Community Facebook group if you'd like to see what things we offer each month. There's always lots of things. So that's it for me and day 2 in the prompt adventure. Make sure to give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment or question below, subscribe if you haven't already, turn on your notification bells. You can pin this on Pinterest, make yourself a Art Journal Habit 2019 Pinterest board if you want to. That's it for me. Thanks. Bye-bye.